Hello and welcome to Doug's Front Porch podcast, where I get to sit down with friends, old and new, and have honest conversations. Today is another episode where it's just me and the microphone. A couple months ago, I did a in memoriam bonus episode about the passing of my grandmother. Well, another milestone in my life just recently happened, and I thought, you know what? I have the platform. I'd like to talk a little bit, because I like to talk. So for those of you that don't know, I recently celebrated my birthday. On the 12th of July, I turned 40. Yes, the big 40. And much like all of you out there, wherever you're listening, 2020 has been a year where if you've had any celebrations or what were supposed to be celebrations, we know that those celebrations weren't able to be celebrated like they should have been. Of course, COVID-19 is still in effect and sadly spreading again here in the United States where I'm located. Pennsylvania is doing better than some states, but I wouldn't say that we're doing great. We'll have to wait and see. How did COVID affect my 40th birthday? Well, for starters, hardly anybody was able to come and celebrate with me. And for those of you that know me personally, know that I am a very outgoing person that likes to be with people. And I like the company of people, talking and joking and just enjoying other people's company. But of course, this year, that had to change. My wife and I had planned, because my wife turns 40 as well later this year, we had planned on 2020 being a year where we could have a joint celebration for our 40th birthdays and have a really big party, invite friends and family. But again, COVID-19 said, I don't think so. So we had a very, very, very small gathering at my house, my wife and I, my kids, and 4 very close friends who we've been around during quarantine and during COVID, so we knew that we weren't exposing ourselves to people that we didn't have contact with. And we had a birthday cake. However, everybody hummed happy birthday to me. And then instead of blowing out the candle, which of course would have not been the most hygienic thing to do, I used my plate to fan out the candle. First time in my life that I ever celebrated a birthday like that. You know, birthdays are funny things. Nobody remembers their very first one. I only know about my first birthday from what my parents told me. I always joke that I remember it well. It was dark and warm, and then all of a sudden it was bright and cold, and I felt somebody slap me. But joking aside, birthdays, are a time where you can become very retro. You can, start to internalize things and think about, another year has passed. Where am I going from here? What have I accomplished? But then there are certain birthdays that are really, I guess, what I would call milestone birthdays. Thinking back, 16 for those of us here in America is a milestone birthday because most people are able to then get their driver's license and drive a car and get the real first taste of freedom to a certain extent. 21 is another milestone birthday for a lot of Americans, again, because it's the first time you are legally allowed to drink alcohol. Now, for those of you listening outside of the United States, you're probably just shaking your head, but it's just the way that it is here. I think then when you hit the tens beyond that, 30, 40, they are milestone birthdays. They're birthdays where you might have that, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm 30, or I can't believe I'm turning 40. I think back to when I was a child, and I think to my parents' birthdays when they hit 40 and 50, I always thought to myself, man, that is, wow, they're 40 years old, or my goodness, they're 50 years old. But just turning 40 a couple days ago, I look back now and I think to myself, well, that's not that old. In fact, I feel pretty darn young yet. It's, I guess it's all a matter of perspective, isn't it, people? But how do we measure a birthday? How do we measure a year? You think about it. Of course, famously, the musical Rent told us that, well, that's easy. A year is 525,600 minutes. And for those of you that are musical fans, you probably are now singing that song in your head. And it's a tough one to get out once you get it in there. And I could wax eloquently on what that means in using those days and minutes and seconds to the fullest. But let's all be realistic. Living life is, we might have a goal of wanting to get everything out of every second of life and every minute of life. But in the end, it's hard. It's really hard. It's really hard. This year, I think, has gone much slower than many years in my past. Everybody says time always speeds up as you get older, and I think for the most part it does, but 2020, from March till July, even though it was, 4 months, it sure didn't feel like a normal 4 months, and I'm sure many of you are with me on that. So how do we measure a birthday? How do we measure what we've accomplished? Of course, we can think about, well, what do I have? I can step back and say, well, I have a job and I'm in a career that I want to be in, or I own a house, or I own a car, or a motorcycle, or a boat. And you can say that I earned those things, or I have a family, I have loving children, and we have fun together. All those things, of course, are easy ways of measuring how far you've come in the time that you've been here on Earth. But then there's the times when you start to think about maybe the deeper aspects. Well, what have I truly done? Have I made a difference in somebody's life? Have I affected somebody and made them a better person? Being in the profession that I'm in as a teacher, I'm very lucky and blessed, and I do not take this for granted, that I have the opportunity to get paid to do that, to affect people's lives on a very personal level, to try and influence them to make wise decisions, to get them to be good people, to get them to be contributing members of our society. I look back on my years as a teacher and my 40 years here on Earth, and I think those are some of the things that I'm the most proud of. How I have been able to be part of so many people's lives. And it was really brought back to me, and I had a great opportunity on Sunday, on the 12th, as so many of my friends and family reached out to me. And Facebook, some people see as the devil. Some people say, no, it is really good. It's this medium where, people can just yell whatever they want. And yes, I agree. There are some very good things to social media, but there's also some drawbacks, of course. But on my birthday, I had the opportunity to spend a day on and off, logging into Facebook and seeing the good side of what Facebook can do and other social media aspects. And it reminded me how blessed I am. It also reminded me how many people I know and how many people care about me. And I'm not saying that to make myself feel good about myself, but I'll tell you what, damn it, it really did make me feel good. I got posts from friends who I only get to talk to via Facebook because they're on the other side of the world. Or I got birthday wishes from people that I've never personally met, but because of the stuff that I've done in Pennsylvania Dutch with my YouTube channel and other projects, who have friended me on Facebook. And even though I never met them, they took the time out of their day to send me a birthday greeting. And you might say to yourself, well, that's so what? Yeah, it is. It might have taken them 15 seconds to type that message. But the impact that little 15 seconds made on me brought a smile to my face. And what is that worth, really, when we think about it? And then there were people, of course, that went over the top, and I do have to give them shout-outs. And I'm going to start first off with someone who I know listens to the podcast, and that's my good friend, Carol Diefenbach-Kantner. Now, Carol and I have known each other for a while. Through Pennsylvania Dutch stuff is how we became connected. And a couple months ago, she posted on Facebook that she was related to Rothemel, the Rothemel family here in the United States. And jokingly, but not jokingly, I posted, hey, I am too. Wouldn't it be crazy if we were related somehow? Well, for my birthday gift from her, she did the genealogy and found out that we do indeed share a common relative. My 7th great-grandfather and her 6th great-grandfather were the same person. How crazy is that? And she did the genealogy, as I said, and then, which I think was the greatest gift that she could have ever given me, and it was such a small gift and a free gift, but one that was extremely powerful for me. She is an organist, and her family, the Diefenbachs, are famous for they made handmade pipe organs in the late 1700s, early 1800s in southeastern Pennsylvania, and a few of them still survive in various churches scattered across Berks County. In the one church where her 5th great-grandfather's organ stands is the same church that my third and fourth great-grandparents worshipped. And she took the time to turn that organ on and play a song for me on that organ. And, she played for maybe a minute, but I listened to that organ playing a hymn And I thought to myself, I'm listening to the same instrument that 160 years ago, my grandparents were sitting in those pews listening and singing to that same instrument. And that was an extremely powerful, moving experience for me, all thanks to Facebook and all thanks to Carol taking a couple minutes out of her day to say, I'm going to play Doug a song on this organ. Thank you, Carol. What a wonderful gift. And then a bunch of my friends from high school went over the top too. As many of you know, I was involved and still am in music. Music's a very big part of my life. In high school, I was in the band and in the choir. And a lot of my friends that I'm still friends with today that I made when I was in high school and middle school, we were friends through music. Well, some of these guys, and they totally... they get the blue ribbon on this one. They came together beyond my knowledge and put a music video together of each of them playing an instrument. They sang and they did a German birthday song to me. And then one of them who has computer skills spliced it all together, and it really turned out to be this awesome gift. So thank you to those guys. A quick shout out to Dustin Shirk, Brad Weidenhammer, Jeremy Swigert, Nate Stimmel, Alex Sachs, and Phil Levesque. You guys, that was such a wonderful experience. I got free ice cream from my dear friend Monica in Michigan that was mailed right to my house. And then on my birthday, I had a surprise visit from a very dear friend that just showed up out of nowhere. And of course, we were really good about social distancing because we hadn't seen each other in a while. But we were able to sit outside and enjoy conversation and a meal. And what more could one ask for? I had dreams of having this huge birthday blowout before COVID of, who knows, 50 people here, we don't know, tons of food and drink and a time to converse and have fun. But when I look back on it now, maybe I can thank COVID for one thing. It allowed me to really think about what a birthday is. It allowed me to have an experience that I wouldn't have had at a big birthday party. It was different, but that doesn't mean it was worse or better, but it was different. And I guess I'll look back on my 40th birthday with joy, even though it wasn't maybe what I had originally planned it to be or I originally thought it to be. So, a birthday starts a new year, a new revolution around the sun. How do we spend it? Who do we spend it with? What difference, great or small, can we make? Those are the things to think about as I move forward into my 41st year here on Earth. I'll continue to keep doing the things that I'm currently doing. Hopefully, COVID will allow me in some point to get back in an actual classroom and work with kids where I feel that my true calling is. And I'll keep talking to you guys via this medium, which I'm so glad that you are listening and supporting it. And, I want to close with two quick quotes from people that have influenced me in the past. And I'll start with this by Woody Guthrie. All of my words, if not well put nor well taken, are well meant. And for those of you listening out there, I hope that you understand that. And for those of you who I interact with and have interacted with, I hope that you take that to heart because I truly mean it. And as we move forward in a new year, who knows what it will bring in a lot of different ways. People that are in my life now might not be there when I celebrate my 41st. And people that aren't in my life now might be in my life when I celebrate my 41st. So no matter what the future brings, I'm often reminded of the words of Martin Luther, the church reformer from the 1500s, who said, "Even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree." And I will. I'll plant my apple tree, and we'll see what happens as the future comes. Thanks for listening. This was a bonus episode, and I hope that my 41st year can be just as wonderful as the journey that I've been on in the first 40. And I thank you to all of you who have journeyed with me in those last 40 years, no matter if it was just 1 year with me, all 40, or somewhere in the middle. I thank you for all that you have done to make me the person that I am today. 40 years is a long time, but I sure hope that I have another 40 in me that I can continue to become a better person and hopefully help other people become better people too. Thank you for listening to Doug's Front Porch, a conversational podcast with your host, Doug Maidenford. If you enjoyed this bonus episode, I'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts from. Follow along on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just look for @Doug's Front Porch. Also, please feel free to tell all of your friends about the show, and I'll see you all next time on my front porch.